Morning, Mark.
Good morning, Councilman.
Hey there. Good morning, y'all. How are you guys doing?
Morning, Anthony. Doing well, thank you.
Hey, Anthony. Glad you could join us.
Glad to be here.
Mark, isn't that a bit of a late start on the quarantine beard?
It's the budget beard.
Right on.
Hey. Cassie, have you let everyone in to the meeting?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. If everybody can keep themselves muted as we go through the presentations, just to cut down on background noise, that would be appreciated. Just want to welcome everyone and thank you for joining us this morning. I'm Kelly Marsalis with the Plano Chamber of Commerce. We know that as people start reopening your businesses and bringing back workforce, probably have a lot of questions as you take those first steps to reopening. This morning, we have invited City of Plano officials to answer questions you have related to COVID-19. But before we begin, I'd like to briefly introduce our city officials that will be speaking today. So first, of course, we have Mayor Pro Tem Rick Smith. Also with us, City Manager Mark Israelson, Carrie Little, Director of Emergency Management, Rachel Patterson, Director of Environmental Health and Sustainability, and Karen Rhodes, Director of Budget. So we're anxious to hear from all 5 of our speakers today. The City of Plano is a valued partner with the Plano business community and a member of the Chamber. So thank you for your participation and your partnership. The Coffee with the City program is to help ensure the connection and communication between city government and business remains strong. Thank you to the City of Plano for connecting with us and our business community. And I am going to quickly turn it over to Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Great. Thanks, Kelly. And good morning, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of Coffee with the City. We want to thank, of course, the Plano Chamber for hosting us virtually on Zoom today. The city continues to work very closely with the Chamber, and we know there are several topics of interest and questions that you submitted related to COVID-19. What we want to do so we can keep things running fairly smoothly today is we ask that everyone, please hold your questions until the Q&A session at the end, and then we'll have time for everyone to address the presenters today. So I know we have, I think, at least a couple of our other council members are here today. I believe, Deputy Mayor Pro Tem Anthony Riccadelli is with us, and I know Council Member Shelby Williams is with us. Have I missed any other members of council that are with us?
Councilwoman 2.
And Council Member Maria too is here with us also. So with that, everybody's been introduced. So why don't we start off? I believe Carrie, you're going to be first up this morning and hit some of the important questions. So take it away for us, please.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen. I'm Carrie Little. I'm the Director of Emergency. Oops, I'm not able to share my screen. So I have some slides that I'll send later, because I'm going to talk a little bit about our current reopening guidance, and there's a lot of information that is out there right now, and some really good tools that are available, because the information has changed significantly over the last 3 weeks about what is open, what is allowed to be reopened. So at the end of April, the governor posted his reopen plan called Open Texas. It's available on the governor's website. And then over the last several weeks, slowly different guidance has been released about what can reopen. Currently, there are certain criteria that has been released for reopening, with certain categories of reopening available at 25 and 50%. There are executive orders that have been put forth outlining the governor's expectation for what is allowed to be reopened and what still remains closed. The city of Plano is following the state guidance for reopening. So in addition to the executive orders that outline what is, it says I can now share my screen. So let me try and do that. So let me share this screen. And so then let me put this. All right, so y'all can see this slideshow. So here's our current reopening guidance. The governor's report to reopen Texas was issued on the 27th of April, and it gives the basic outline of what reopening in Texas would look like. There are minimum recommended health protocols that are published on the Department of State Health Services website in each of the categories, showing what those minimum criteria are for the reopening categories. So May 1st, there were criteria outlined for retailers, retail customers, restaurants, movie theaters, museums, and libraries. In May 5th, there were criteria for churches and wedding venues. May 8th, nail salons, tanning salons, barbershops, cosmetology. May 18th, there were protocols for manufacturers and office-based employees. And it goes through every time the reopening criteria is expanded, more protocols are either updated or listed for the newest reopening categories. All of the executive orders that are associated with reopening are outlined on the executive orders page. And I'll share this with the chamber so it can be sent out with the blog post. There's a Governor's Strike Force website that has all sorts of information and then links to more information from that website. There's a specific page that is just resources for Texas businesses. And this webpage has not only all of the criteria, but it has all of those links as well to the different small business resources that are available. It has links to the unemployment and the paycheck protection resources that are available. It has all of the webinars that have been put together. It has
I think Carrie cut out for a second.
Let's see. Is the screen blank for everyone else?
Yes, it froze on
Okay.
resources for reopening.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Smith, maybe we could go ahead and move on to Rachel and allow her to present, and we'll let Gary get back to.
Yeah, it looks like she's probably got a little internet issue going on there. So sounds like a good idea. So yeah, Rachel, let's go ahead and bring Rachel up. Rachel is going to give us an update, talk about some of the environmental health and sustainability issues relating to what we've been going through. So Rachel, go ahead and take it away. Thanks.
Sure, thank you. Thank you so much for having me this morning. I think the first thing I want to talk about is reporting. from the state on cases. There is a bit of a change coming, and it's actually coming today. We didn't know when this change was going to happen, but we got word yesterday that it's going to happen today. So I want to go through what that means for us. So what the state is doing, the State Department of Health Services, they're really trying to maintain consistency in reporting statewide as the situation continues to develop. So today, they're going to be taking over all of the contact tracing and reporting for the positive cases in the state. So what this means is that all of the labs that come back for our residents will be reported to the state rather than through the county. And the state will follow up with all of the contact tracing, which takes some pressure off of our county partners. Collin County is going to continue to monitor all of the confirmed cases that have come through up until yesterday, including all of the residents that were under monitoring. But starting today, the state will begin to do all of that contact tracing. Also, they're going to be taking the lead, the state DSHS will be taking the lead on all of the reporting. So all of our Collin and Denton County cases will be showing up on the state's dashboard. At this time, the data can be viewed by county, but we don't know if there are plans to further break that data down by zip code or city, and we'll be watching for more information on that. And I also want to mention that the state has recently added a case definition for a probable positive case, so we're probably going to see an increased numbers of cases all over the state, really. On one of our calls last week, the state did indicate that they would be reporting the confirmed cases separately from the probable cases, and we're hoping that they'll follow through on that so that we can still compare apples to apples, because up until now, what we've been looking at are the confirmed cases. I was also asked to talk a little bit about the businesses and you know, kind of like what's going to be required for them. Carrie discussed that there are many, many resources available on the DSHS website, and she put that website up there for you. And it includes, as she said, a timeline and then checklists for your business type, if it's one of the business types that is permitted to reopen. All I want to add to what Carrie said is that the protocols that you find there are minimum recommended health protocols. Most of them address social distancing, hygiene practices for your employees and for your customers, wearing of PPE or masks and sometimes gloves. In most cases, these are recommended protocols, but there are going to be some cases, such as restaurants, where there are going to be some requirements, like per our food code. So like wearing gloves, no bare hand contact, making sure employees aren't coming to work ill, all of that appears in our food code. And it's not just recommended, as most of those protocols are on the Open Texas website. And then lastly, I wanted to go through a few of the frequently asked questions that we're getting from businesses. These are also available on a flyer, I believe, that has been released on social media, and it might even be on our website, I'm not sure. But I will go through those right now. So the first question is, can I reopen? Again, just go to that Open Texas website. You can review the timeline and the checklist for your business type there. You can also review the governor's executive orders where it lists out the businesses that are permitted to reopen right now. Another question we're getting is, do I need a new certificate of occupancy or a health permit? If your business was operating with a certificate of occupancy or a valid health permit prior to closure, there are no issues with you reopening. What about your utilities? What if your utilities were disconnected while you were closed? You're going to need to contact your provider regarding reconnection. A service reconnection will require a city permit and a release to the utility company, but the permit fee for that is going to be waived. It's a $100 permit fee normally, and that will be waived. Can I install signage saying that I'll reopen? You may install a banner or temporary signage, but a permit is required. You're allowed 3 permits in a calendar year for this. Each permit is good for a 6-week period. And again, the $100 permit fee will be waived for those types of permits. We had quite a number of questions on how to calculate the 25% occupancy for your business. If you go to our City of Plano Building Inspections website, they have an occupancy load calendar or something that you can print out that will help you figure out what that means for your particular business. And then are there water safety related considerations for reopening your business location? For those types of questions, you can go to the North Texas Municipal Water District site and you can review their water safety guidelines. And so that is what I have for you today.
All right, good deal. Thanks for that presentation. And we're going next to the person we've all been waiting for. Karen Rhodes is going to give us a little bit of insight on what we foresee the impact of some of the reduction in sales and use taxes, hotel taxes, things like that may have on our budgeting process. So Karen, give us some good news.
Thank you. Thank you for having me this morning. I have a couple of revenue projections that we are already looking at. I will tell you this, the actual numbers that are going to come in from the pandemic, closing down most of our businesses and having everybody stay at home, actually, we're not going to see those numbers until June 5th. That's when we receive the data in from the state. The sales tax runs 2 months behind. So we won't see April until June 5th. So we do have some projections we are going by though. We just heard from both Collin County and the Denton Central Appraisal Districts for this coming up year. We're expecting a $46.6 billion assessed property valuation roll. This is new property coming online at $751 million. Overall property increases, including the new growth, is 3.3%, and our existing tax base will be up 1.6%. Now, the important thing to remember, these appraised property values were done January 1st, before the pandemic hit. They are really expecting a lot of people to go in and protest their values. So they had been very, very conservative within their parameters. This will be a moving target. And of course, we're going to know everything in July. I'll also tell you this, we are expecting, you know, before the legislature, we had an effective tax rate and a rollback tax rate. Now we're going to have a no new tax rate and also a voter approved tax rate. The actual calculations to come up with those rates are still at the state comptroller's office. Word has it, it should be any day we receive the calculations on how to go in and calculate those. So I'm hoping we can get that done in June and go ahead and let everybody know what we think our new rates are going to be. So at the end of the day, though, on property taxes for next year, we are expecting $6 million more in revenue than the last year. And of course, that's at our current tax rate of 44.82 cents per $100 of assessed property value. I mentioned before, we're not going to receive what April sales tax was until June. I will tell you this though, in March, we were only 381,000 down. Now, if you remember correctly, I think everything went off March 16th, so that would be half the month. We had projected we were going to be down 1 million. We came down only 381,000, which means we really have a diverse retail commercial tax base as far as our sales tax going. Mentioned before, the 1st of June is when we will figure out what happened in April. We are planning, though, a 25% decline between now and the end of September in our sales tax. We originally had projected $86 million. We're looking forward to probably coming in at $80 million. Some other revenues that are off due to the pandemic is, of course, our hotel motel taxes. Hotel motel taxes now, we're faring better than what I originally thought. I figured we were going to be down at least half, if not more, and we are faring a lot better. Right now, our hotel rooms are running about 35% occupancy, which is great. Normally, we have budgeted 65 to 68%. There's some other cities around us, they're reporting that their occupancy levels are 12%. So we're doing a lot better than what I thought. Our original projection for hotel motel was at 11 million, and now we are projecting 8.3 million. We also have several other revenue sources that are going down. Of course, our parks and rec fees, we're not going to be opening up some outdoor camps. The swimming pools are staying closed. So we're estimating, I know we're not going to get the revenue in, but we're not needing to hire all the temporary part-time workers. So that's providing savings too. Right now, we are under a hiring freeze. We do have a budget contingency plan in place. So right now, we have 40 non-essential general fund positions open, 73 citywide. We currently have 34 public safety positions open. That's all we're allowing to hire right now is public safety. The 40 in the general fund totals $1.1 million. I mentioned before, we're not going to need to hire all the part-time lifeguard workers and outdoor camp counselors, and that's going to save us around $700,000. The city's currently in the budget process. The departments just handed in their budgets. Going through the reestimate for this year, the departments did great. They're saving over $3 million, between $3 and $4 million. We're currently undergoing our salary savings right now, but we know just from the 40 non-essential general fund workers, we're saving $1.1 million there. So water and sewer, I was on a call with North Texas Municipal Water District the other day. They are telling us that they will not be passing on a water increase this year, which would be fabulous. But the wastewater side, due to their debt obligations, we are going to have to pass forward a 10% wastewater increase. Overall, what we're projecting right now is a loss of around $15 million this year for all our revenues, including the hotel motel taxes, sales tax, property tax. You always have a year lag because of that January 1st date. So anything from the pandemic that's going to happen, you won't see that until next year. So basically, that is what I have for y'all today.
Great, thanks, Karen. Thanks, Karen. And we're going to wrap up today with our city manager, but believe we have Carrie Little back online. Carrie, are you back with us? So I'd like to get you to wrap up where we left off earlier.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep, can hear you fine.
Okay. I just wanted to close with Rachel touched on the bulk of what I was going to cover, but those resources have been shared or will be shared. And as we continue to get questions, one of the big resources is the sending the email to essential services at tdem.texas.gov for minimum protocol or questions to essential services at tdem.texas.gov to figure out if your business is allowed to reopen. And then also coronavirus at dshs.texas.gov is another good resource if you have questions about minimum health protocol to follow. So that's the last that I had to share.
Okay, great. Thanks, Carrie. So now we're going to wrap it up with our city manager, Mark Israelson. So Mark, take it away for us, please.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Good morning, everybody. Before I get started, I wanted to recognize real quick, I've seen Councilwoman Lily Bow has joined us. And I also see Commissioner Duncan Webb is on the call as well. So wanted to recognize both of those folks as well, as they've been critical during this entire time. One of the things we continue to hear from citizens and from our businesses is about relief, and really where that relief is and where it's coming. We're well aware of the payroll protection actions that have been taken by the federal government, and really that's where the majority of the funding has come down from the federal government through the state government to the counties. And Collin County, and this has been a large effort by Collin County, which has really led the way in North Texas. They have allocated funds down to cities for relief to help us in our process of assisting citizens and our local governments. So tonight, the City Council is actually going to consider two items. One is for housing and food relief. This is going to be a significant amount of money that the county has allocated, which is $30 million with an initial tranche for funding that can go out for assistance for individuals. So if they need housing assistance or food assistance, that's a program that's going to be considered tonight by the City Council. Again, it's an initial tranche of $30 million. There's an additional 15 that can be allocated by the county later on this summer. The other funding is for direct assistance for the city. This is going to be just over $16 million that is come down from the county to the city that the City Council will consider tonight. And we will engage in discussions about what the uses of those funds can be at a future date. But those relief dollars are very important to the community. We know that there have been furloughs, there's been layoffs, and there's a lot of discussion about how to find relief and where that relief can be worked. So let's talk real quick about the housing and food side. The cities of Allen, Frisco, McKinney, and Plano are working together on that program. We expect that once the council considers that tonight, if they go forward, which we suspect they might, there is going to be the discussion of how people can apply and how people can work through that. They are still working on that process, and so I would ask everybody to stay tuned, but getting that word out will be hugely important. So we are still working on that. The other aspect that we're well aware of is the impact on small businesses. Right now, the city has been able to reallocate some funds from their CDBG funds to work through providing some micro business assistance. We expect an application to be available for that on or around June 1st. We're working closely with the chamber on that, so Kelly Marsalis is well aware of that. And so for the business relief side of things, we are working very closely with the chamber, and we would strongly encourage everybody to check back with the City of Plano website, check back with the chamber website, and make sure that you're using those channels for staying up to date with the most up-to-date information. And that's really been a large part of what we've experienced through the COVID-19 issue. As everybody's well aware, there have been a number of orders issued from the state government, the county government, and then the local government. Plano's position throughout this has been to keep this as simple and easy to understand as we possibly can. And we do understand that with so many different orders and Plano having multiple counties, things like that, it can become confusing for a lot of folks of how do I comply? And so our goal is to try to make this as simple and as easy as possible for everybody as they go forward. So as businesses are reopening, as was told here, we're following the governor's order. We're following the Open Texas guidance. And so that is the resource document for businesses to go and do their research on. We also want to make sure that our businesses are doing this in a very responsible manner, that they are practicing that social distancing, because the key for all of us is going forward in a safe manner. And that's really been the key for everybody, in Plano. And we've seen a lot of compliance. We've seen it in our parks. We've seen it in our businesses. But we've all seen the news stories over the weekend about people having that pent up desire to socialize and what that has resulted in. And we're really wanting to make sure that we practice some of that social distancing so that we spread out the impact of COVID-19 and make sure our healthcare system is able to respond in a way that is meaningful. So from the city's perspective, we will continue to follow the governor's order, and as he relaxes restrictions, those will apply in the city of Plano. We are in constant contact with our hospitals through our emergency management department, as well as our public safety departments. We are constantly monitoring how to make sure we are getting word out when changes do happen. And we do know that at the beginning of June, we anticipate another conference from the governor where he will assess the conditions and look at what adjustments might need to be made. And so as those changes happen, they will happen in Plano as well. So talked a little bit about the relief side of things. The last thing is we do know that some of our businesses have been closed for a prolonged period of time. We are working through those issues, as Rachel mentioned. If they were open before COVID-19, they don't need anything for the city. Just plain and simple, go open your doors and you're allowed to come back in. And that's the message that we want to make sure our business community hears, excuse me. So with that, I know we have a little bit of time, but I'm sure there's a lot of questions out there, so I will keep this short and turn it back so that we can answer as many questions as we possibly can for our business community.
Great. Thanks, Mark. Kelly, do you have a list of folks who have sent in questions, or we just want to let folks kind of raise their hand and ask on the fly here?
So we are going to, we're going to allow anyone to go ahead and raise their hand, either physically, if we can see you, or using the raise your hand function for questions. We had one question in the chat, but I think that it got answered by Shauna. So does anyone have any questions right now that you'd like to ask any of the speakers?
Kelly, if you don't mind real quick, I'd like to actually ask Shauna to speak about that, if that's okay. I see her on the call. But data has been a big issue for everybody, and we've developed a great partnership with the county and great dashboards and being able to convey that information. And much like what we've experienced in COVID-19, give it a day or two and things will change. Well, things have changed. So Shauna, would you mind updating people on what that change is and what we can expect from data, please?
Yes, certainly. As of today, the Texas Department of State Health Services is assuming all case management, contact tracing, and reporting duties related to any new Collin County COVID-19 cases. Rachel alluded to that earlier. So that takes effect today. And the way I've explained it before, previously the county would do that contact management and would report out the data on city-specific information. So they would report up to the state and they would report down to the cities. That's now pivoting, and the state is doing all of the management, and they are reporting on their dashboard down to the counties. At this time, that reporting only shows at the county level. If there's any one thing that I've learned over the COVID-19 pandemic, now that we're in week 10, is that things change all the time. So right now, the state is reporting on county level, and we will not have city-specific data. That may change at some point in the future. We're not sure, but we will definitely be pointing to the state's dashboard where that information is located.
All right, great. So we want to take some more questions.
Everybody's still on holiday weekend mode, I think.
I think so. Very quiet.
Quiet today.
Well, Kelly, do you mind if I add two more
Please.
operational updates real
Please.
quick? Okay. So as everybody knows, one of the first actions the city took was closing those facilities that have a high degree of social contact, our libraries and our recreation centers. The city has been on a path to reopen those for limited service over the last several weeks. So we began that with it's not quite car service or drive-up service, but it's porch side service for our libraries. And so we reopened at the beginning of May to allow people to go online, use their electronic resources to reserve and check out books and materials. we've been delivering those to folks so they're able to check in and check out books, but rather than entering the facility, we've been using the entryways and the patios, the porches, if you will, to be able to do that exchange of materials with our public. So with that, we've seen a great deal of compliance and success, and we know that there is a lot of need within the community. And so our next step is, and we're taking a very measured approach in how we open our facilities. Our next step is going to actually be allowing for a limited amount of computer use. And so it would be socially distanced. There would be cleaning protocols in place after each use. But we anticipate starting that at the beginning of June to allow some additional features of our library system to be able to be accessed by the citizens. So we know that that's going to start in June. And again, the more successful we are, the more we will continue to relax and open things up. Our Parks and Recreation Department was another one that was impacted greatly. We are very proud of the fact that we were able to keep all of our parks open at all times, and are very proud of our Parks Monitor program that helped make sure that people had a respite to be able to go out and enjoy nature and get out of the house. But with that, the gyms have been allowed to open. So at the beginning of June, we will be starting to open our recreation centers. So we've opened our dog parks, we have opened our skate parks, and so those outdoor facilities have been opened. Our recreation centers, again, complying with the limitations of the number of people, as well as making sure we're practicing social distancing. Those will be opening at the beginning of June. And we know there's a lot of excitement and a lot of pent-up desire to get in there and get a good workout. So we will have those as well. The swimming pools, as Karen said, the indoor lap pools will be opened. So there is the ability to do swimming. The outdoor pools, because of the seasonal aspect of things and hiring and the challenges with the sheer number of people that come into those facilities, similar to a water park, right now we don't see them opening, but we are continuing to reassess things all the time. So as data changes and circumstances change, we are continuing to evaluate those aspects. So those are the updates that we have so far on those facilities. And so Kelly, we'll see if we have any other questions.
Great. Let's see. Anybody else have any live questions they'd like to ask any of the speakers? Mark, can you talk a little bit about, I just have one question. Can you talk a little bit about any of the construction or road projects slated for this summer? Is there any, is anything going to be stopped or changed in any way, or will it kind of go on as expected?
Well, good question, and appreciate that. We are continuing with our construction projects. Part of the reason for that is when you're doing road construction projects, right now there's less people on the roads. So we're actually trying to speed this up a little bit. We can actually impact more lanes right now at the same time versus where we were even 3 months ago. Traffic has just greatly decreased with people staying home. So we're trying to make the best of the situation, and where we can go a little bit faster and do a little bit more work, we're trying to get that done at this time while being sensitive to the fiscal impacts of everything. But if less people are on the roads and we can do 2 lanes of work instead of 1 lane of work at a time, we're trying to get as much of that squeezed in as we possibly can, so that when things do open back up, we're able to have had that much more work done. The other thing that we're noticing is a slight declining slope, if you will, in the cost of construction. That's a new phenomenon that we have not seen in the last 5, 6, 7 years. We've seen steady increases over that time. So things have flattened, if not declined just a little bit. So we are continuing on with those construction projects, because we also realize that once things do open up, people are going to want full access to their businesses. They're going to want full access for their customers to be able to get in their stores, and they're going to want good roads to get there. So we're trying to make sure that we're taking care of those things, and so that they have a full opportunity to make sure that they have a robust business when things are completely open. So road projects, and I know that we have a lot going on. Coit Road is one that has a lot of work going on. I know that we've had Plano Parkway over at Preston. Now it's PGBT at Preston is being worked on. We've done quite a bit of work on Parker Road. So we're doing work all over the city right now on various projects, and we're trying to keep those going. And I would say we tried to speed up a little bit during this, realizing that traffic was a little bit less in trying to impact those daily commutes even more by getting that work done a little bit faster.
Great. And Mark, also, you might want to reiterate that we haven't, even during this time when things are a little bit uncertain budgetary wise, we haven't cut back on any of our infrastructure projects, and don't really see that happening in the near term.
That's correct, Mayor Pro Tem. We have continued on right now, and while we have implemented our budget contingency plans, we have put some of those operational aspects on hold, if you will, and cut back some of those. For the most part, our infrastructure and public safety have stayed intact because those are longer term investments in the community. And so right now, disrupting that cycle of how that gets done and when that gets done is something that has long-term effects. So we've tried to stay on track with our plans for infrastructure and continuing on that. And that goes with public safety. Karen mentioned that earlier about public safety hiring. In order to spin up even a single police officer, it's typically between 18 and 20 months. So we don't want to disrupt that pipeline of making sure that we have those resources and we have those projects in the queue and being addressed within our community. We've stuck to our plan.
Great, thanks, Mark.
Sure.
Any other questions this morning?
And Kelly, I might also ask any of our presenters now that we were trying to stick to a pretty tight schedule, which went very well. Any of our presenters have any additional information that they kind of popped up that they might want to share with us while we're all still here together, or we pretty well covered?
I think we're pretty well covered, but I did see a question pop up regarding, will relief be distributed by nonprofits or the cities? The housing and food assistance for individuals that I mentioned, the $30 million that came down from Collin County, is going to be distributed by nonprofits. There is a process right now that they're taking requests for qualifications, and they're working through that. Once the council has had the opportunity to consider that, and if they choose to move forward, there will be this RFQ that allows nonprofits to help in the administration of that program, so they'll be able to help with the processing of that. So we do envision a significant role for nonprofits in that process.
I see we also have a question from Councilwoman Bao about libraries.
Yes, Councilwoman Bao, if you might unmute your microphone and help with that question, we'll see if we can get it answered.
Hi, Mark. I just wonder whether you can talk about library opening schedule. Right now, people are doing drop by, right? Curb pickup. Any chance the library can open a little bit more? And is there any programs that might be allowed during the summer?
Hi, Councilwoman. Yes, we're allowing for a limited amount, a very scheduled amount of computer use, but that's it at this point, and we're going to start that in June. And as we see compliance, as we're able to be successful with that, we will continue to evaluate what programs and services are able to be offered. But right now, our library staff is able to do the majority of our classes and programs online, and they've been actually very successful at being able to do that. So everything from story time for kids to some of our classes on robotics, they've shifted those online and have actually taken a great deal of the number of participants online with them. So it's actually been a great success story on adaptability, and seeing the adaptation of service delivery has been by our library and their awesome staff. So what we've scheduled right now, and the only timeframes that we're really looking at is that June 1st timeframe. And once we make that commitment, we're committed to moving forward with that. But what we're trying also for our public is when we make decisions, we're sticking with them and trying not to yo-yo back and forth with openings, closings, that sort of thing. So as we're able to continue to relax and offer more programs, we will do that. But what I would say is stay tuned, and we will continue to evaluate, and where we can open, trust me, we want to be open as soon as we possibly can, but only if we can do it safely for our staff and our public.
Okay, thank you very much, Mark.
You're welcome.
Hey, Mark, we got a question here from Denise at Children's Health about the relief funds are going to be distributed. Our question is, we mentioned Allen, Frisco, McKinney, and Plano, but will other cities within the county be able to access some of these relief funds?
That's a great question. Absolutely. The funds are actually for the entire county. So those 4 cities have actually divided up the entire county and will be administering this on behalf of all cities. So Plano is actually covering the southern sector, if you will, of Collin County. So while Plano is spearheading that, it will cover the cities of Wiley and Richardson, Murphy, and others. So all cities will have access to that. And the funds are actually being proportioned out by zip code to make sure that there's equal opportunity for everybody within the county to access those funds. So for the, and that's for the housing and the food assistance program. So yes, it will be countywide. And while those 4 cities are doing the administration side, every single county, every single city, every single zip code will have access and opportunity for those funds.
Terrific. Thanks, Mark. And also maybe just kind of a general comment, if I might, that speaking of countywide, I would hope that everyone here on our call today has already filled out and sent back in their census information. And if not, get it back in, because Plano especially, we are one of the leaders in responsiveness for the survey, but it's very important to all the municipalities and the counties in the state to be sure that we have as accurate of a count as we can, because it affects our funding and our ability to deliver the quality services that I know everybody wants. So please share with your friends. Let's get that information back in. I believe it can still be done online. I'm not 100% sure of that, but anyway, you can check on that and get the information back in there.
Well, great. Well, we're going to give everybody back about 10 minutes of their morning, so that's a plus here. But I just want to say thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Smith, City Manager Mark Israelson, and city staff, Carrie Little, Rachel Patterson, and Karen Rhodes for your updates today. This is such great information to share with our business community, and I can't say enough how much we truly appreciate the partnership with the City of Plano and the Chamber and the business community. So it's definitely one of the many great things about the Plano community. So thank you all for being here. As we mentioned at the beginning of the call, we did record this session, and we will be posting it and sharing it with our entire membership. So if you have any additional questions, please reach out to the Chamber or the city through the many channels. We'll be happy to get those answered for you. And with that, we will adjourn. So have a great week, everyone.